One of the things that always amazes me is how God uses all of creation to help us in the aftermath of trauma and through our grief and suffering to heal. I think God definitely uses people, but I don't think people are the only ones that God uses. In fact, much of his creation, the animals, I think we can learn from. Um, One of the things that I started doing for the past few years is working with horses and using horses in therapy and counseling and coaching to help people from their traumatic past. Before we were using horses, we were using dogs, and we have some national memorandums of understanding with other groups who we bring the dogs into the disaster zone. And it's just amazing to see how people can relate to them. There's a couple of lessons I think that we can learn from God's creation, specifically horses. First of all, horses are fully present in the moment. And you can tell whether a horse is tuned into you by their posture, by where their eyes are looking, by their ears. They can literally, I wish we as human beings could move our ears, but horses can move their ears, and you can tell whether a horse is tending to you, whether their ears are focused on you or not. And so they're really, really present. And in fact, when you're with a horse, if you're not present with the horse and your mind is somewhere else, the horse knows that, and the horse will respond accordingly as well. Horses are also very acutely aware of their environment. Horses are animals of prey versus being a predator, and to be able to sustain life, they need, they're constantly aware of their surroundings. I think for us, those of us who are working in counseling and doing the trauma work with people, we need to really be aware of that environment that we're in and really be tuned in to the things that they are experiencing. They're also highly intuitive. And one of the things about horses is while they may have a smaller brain than we as human beings, they have a larger heart. And horses actually speak a language of the heart. And I've watched them so many times in the arena when you have somebody who is hurting, how they are just able to be there and be so present with them. I was with my horses not too long ago. I had a really rough day and I was tired. And I just collapsed in front of the stall and sat in my chair. And they snapped this picture. I was just sitting there and my horse came and just stood over top of me. And I could just feel just his energy, like almost like his prayers coming down through me. It was amazing how it could reset. And that was just, it's a lesson to us how we as human beings, we should talk a lot less and to seek to be more present with people when they're in times of crisis and let that kind of that language of the heart, that heart of love actually flow to people, because I think it's extremely healing. Horses are also a part of the herd. One of the things that you can do that really distresses a horse the most is to remove it from the herd. And when we look at times of disaster, a lot of times people are removed from their herd, from their flock, or whatever you might call it. Their disaster has separated people. They're moved in sometimes with total and complete strangers. Sometimes they feel isolated and alone. They don't maybe have the same contact by phone or by email or just being with the other person because they're in different parts of the country trying to find a place to live. And so sometimes we actually become a temporary herd for them. And so a horse really needs that. I think we as human beings really need that as well. The horses also provide immediate feedback, and they're congruent with what happens. So if you're with a horse and you have something going on the inside of you that's different from how you're acting on the outside, horses are very much in tune to that. So I think it's really important for us as human beings to be very congruent with how we're experiencing things on the inside and how we are on the outside. And so a lot of times for us as caregivers, we have to be in touch with our anger, with our fear, with our frustrations, because I think that people in times of trauma are very much like horses. Their intuition is much higher, and they're also able to kind of tune in, and they know when we are present with them and when we're not present with them. And the last part of that is that horses don't judge. They don't care about the color of your skin. They don't care what culture or what label that you wear. They also really don't care about anything except, are you a safe person? Are you with me right now? And so I think there's some things that we can learn as human beings from our animal friends that God has created to kind of keep our mouths quiet more and to really listen and try to be tuned into people in that present moment where they are. And I think that is where people really heal. Both of my horses are rescue horses. One of them was severely abused and neglected to the point that when they rescued him, he was so weak, his name was Hercules, that he couldn't even stand. And you can see from some of the pictures, he was very emaciated and hadn't been fed. And still has the scars today that really never probably will heal from those wounds of the severe abuse that he had. But while he won't heal from maybe some of the scars from that, from the inside, he's done a lot of healing. In fact, he's one of the most probably probably intuitive, sensitive horses. He's a very, very loving horse, and as we've worked with him for the past few years, he's really come a long, long way. And one of the things I find with Hercules is that because of his past, because of his abuse, I think that he can relate to people at a whole different level. And I find that when somebody's hurting, he's very much in tune with them. And I think it's a very, very good reminder to us, all of us in some way have been hurt or wounded to the past. I think the question is, have we healed enough so from those past scars, past wounds, that we are, as Henry Nouwen talks, a wounded healer, and we're still not bleeding on people, but we still have those scars, and are we in touch with those? That makes us become a more caring and compassionate person versus just being a perpetual victim for the rest of our lives. And I feel like that God wants to take us and redeem our past and redeem our history so that we can reach out into a world at a whole different level in a whole different way. And God is a God of new beginnings.